Right now, things around Iran are starting to shift in a way that suggests something much bigger may be coming. What we're seeing isn't just posturing or routine movement, it looks increasingly like preparations for possible ground operations. And to be clear, that's a path filled with serious risks. Let's break down what's actually happening and why it matters. The United States has already begun repositioning key military assets. One of the central pieces is the USS Tripoli, an amphibious assault ship capable of carrying both advanced fighter jets and a sizable marine force. This vessel moved out of the Philippine Sea and is now crossing the Indian Ocean, expected to reach the Persian Gulf region very soon. On board, you're looking at a mix of F-35 jets and roughly 2,000 to 2,500 Marines, highly trained rapid response troops designed for flexible combat scenarios. At the same time, another amphibious unit, the USS Boxer, has departed from San Diego. It's not as close, it'll take a few weeks to arrive, but once it does, it adds even more capability to the region. And then there's the 82nd Airborne Division. This is one of the fastest deploying forces the US has. These troops are essentially on standby, with aircraft ready to move them anywhere in the world within hours. Orders have already been issued for them to head toward the Middle East, and by the time you're hearing this, they may already be in motion. Put all of that together, and within a few weeks, you're looking at around 8,000 highly capable troops positioned in or near the region. These aren't heavy armored divisions with tanks and artillery. This is a lighter, faster, highly mobile force. Marines and airborne units that are extremely effective for rapid strikes, but not designed for large-scale, prolonged ground wars. Now, here's where things get interesting and a bit concerning. There's been a lot of talk about a place called Kharg Island. It's a small but critically important location off Iran's southwestern coast. Despite its size, it plays an outsized role in global energy markets. The vast majority of Iran's oil exports, over 90%, flow through this single point. The geography of Iran's coastline makes it difficult for large tankers to dock directly, so oil is transported via pipelines to this island, where it can be loaded and shipped out. So naturally, some analysts and commentators are suggesting that this could be a target. The thinking goes like this: if the US were to seize control of Kharg Island, it would gain leverage over Iran by effectively controlling its oil exports. That leverage could then be used in negotiations, something along the lines of, "We'll give this back if you change your behavior." On paper, that might sound like a strategic move. In reality, it's far more complicated and far more dangerous. First, cutting off Iran's oil revenue doesn't just pressure the country, it pushes it into a corner. And when states feel cornered, they tend to escalate, not compromise. We've already seen how quickly Iran can respond when its infrastructure is hit. In recent attacks, damage to regional energy facilities reached into the hundreds of billions of dollars in a very short time. That kind of retaliation would likely happen again, possibly on an even larger scale. Second, holding Kharg Island would be incredibly difficult. US naval strategy so far has relied heavily on distance, keeping aircraft carriers outside the Persian Gulf operating from safer positions like the Arabian Sea or the Red Sea. That distance provides a buffer against Iranian missile systems and other threats. But Kharg Island sits extremely close to Iran's mainland, within about 30 miles. Any force stationed there would be well within range of Iranian weapons, and if thousands of American troops were placed on that island, it would present a high-value, highly vulnerable target. From Iran's perspective, that's exactly the kind of opportunity they would be waiting for. So instead of gaining leverage, such a move could create a scenario where US forces are exposed in one of the most dangerous ways possible. There's also a deeper issue here, one that goes beyond troop movements or specific targets. Decision-making at the highest levels appears to be happening with less input from experienced analysts and strategic planners. Over the past year, many of the experts who traditionally study things like energy choke points, regional dynamics, and military logistics have been pushed out or sidelined. That means fewer voices providing caution or context when major decisions are being considered. And when complex geopolitical decisions are made without that kind of input, the margin for error increases significantly. So if Kharg Island isn't the right move, what could these forces actually be used for? One alternative scenario makes a bit more sense. Instead of trying to occupy a fixed position, these troops could be used in a more dynamic role, specifically around the Strait of Hormuz. This narrow waterway is one of the most critical choke points in global trade, especially for oil. A significant portion of the world's energy supply passes passes through it every day. By deploying Marines and airborne units along key near the strait, the U.S. could conduct rapid, targeted operations, quick strikes against launch sites or threats, followed by immediate withdrawal. This kind of hit-and-run approach wouldn't eliminate all risks, but it could reduce Iran's ability to disrupt shipping without committing to a full-scale occupation. It's not a perfect solution. In fact, it's still risky, but compared to holding a fixed exposed position like Kharg Island, it's far more flexible and potentially more sustainable. As of now, everything is still in motion. The Tripoli is expected to arrive within about 2 days. The airborne units could be there just as quickly. If decision makers choose to act with a partial force, operations could begin almost immediately. If they wait for the full buildup, including the Boxer, they're looking at a timeline that stretches into the second week of April. The key point is this: the pieces are being put into place. The capabilities are there. The options are opening up. What happens next will depend entirely on the decisions made at the top.